Aloha y'all. Today we're going to discuss earthing slash grounding, the science of connecting back to the earth. Before we get into that, I'm Timothy the Tiger. I am an evangelist, which means a messenger of the great news of King Jesus Christ. He personally has helped me heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and now it is part of my dharma, part of my purpose, to make these videos to hopefully inspire you to enter into a relationship with God. So the first point we got is that as a culture, we are disconnected from nature. We're living in the matrix, y'all. And I've thought about this before, that some people can go a very, very, very long time before they actually physically connect back to the earth. I mean, if someone living in the city, I mean, they always have their shoe on. And like, let's say they actually go out to the park or something. Some people don't take their shoes off when they go to the park. They leave their shoes on. Like, whenever they're outside their house, their shoes are constantly on. And I mean, think about it for yourself. When's the last time that you physically put your bare feet on the earth? And I moved to somewhere that it snows a lot, and I haven't been able to ground as much as I normally do. But this past weekend I did a big hike, and I did it barefoot all the way up to the top of the mountain, and then I put my shoes back on the way down. And so the point I'm just making is that we've paved everything with asphalt and concrete, and in a way we're sort of animalistic. We're very similar to animals, and we've just been disconnected from nature. And I think that's a big reason why society acts a little bit crazy, is that we're disconnected. It's a bit it's not as harmonious as it should be. And so we need to make the physical effort to connect back to earth, which is why I'm making this video, and the benefits as to being barefoot out in nature. I know it sounds silly, it sounds like some hippy dippy video, but there's some actual science behind it. So the first thing of actual science is they talk about negative ions. So they say that supposedly the scientists, whenever we put our bare feet on the earth with no disconnection, like no concrete, no asphalt, any of that, we absorb negative ions through the bottom of our feet, and supposedly those negative ions are healing for us. And I guess please bear with me if I'm wrong on this, but the positive ions are in our body, and those are what cause inflammation and disease. And when we put our bare feet on the ground, essentially there's an exchange where we release the positive ions and we absorb the negative ions, and those negative ions are healing. That's my basic understanding of the science of grounding. And another aspect that's a little bit easier to understand is foot reflexology, that third point on there. And think of acupuncture. So acupuncture with the Chinese medicine with the needles, and you got these meridian points, pressure points, and they put the needle on there. Well, on a foot reflexology chart, it's very similar. They show that all the different organs, they pointed to different parts of the foot. And if you ever seen someone with a nail board, I've got a nail board, and that's similar. It's similar to acupuncture, but for your feet. And you can have a similar effect when, for example, this past weekend when I was walking on the trail, there was a little bit of gravel. I mean, nothing too sharp or crazy that I couldn't do the hike. But while I'm walking barefoot for about an hour, I'm getting like the little pressure points, the little gravel, little tiny rocks, and there's the benefit of you get it, foot reflexology while you're walking barefoot, just because it's not always a completely flat surface. That's if you're walking on like a hiking trail or something. But the easiest way to do it is just be out in grass. Grass feels the best. And so what do I have down here? It says yogis meditate on fur. So this is sort of the opposite point. And you can find photos. You can type in on Google, yogi meditating on tiger skin, or yogi meditating on deer skin. And why are they doing that? Well, they know the science of grounding and earthing, but the yogi is different, where the yogi doesn't want to ground. The yogi wants to blast off and go into the spiritual realms, to go into the heavenly realms. And the yogi knows the subtle effect of the grounding is pulling himself down to earth. But the yogi is trying to blast off and have an out-of-body experience. So you'll see these photos of yogis meditating on tiger skin and on deer skin and on like wool blankets, because they are trying to sever that connection to the earth so that it doesn't pull them down and ground them. And so the point is sort of an opposite one, where it's still talking about grounding and earthing, but they're trying to avoid it because they're trying to be more airy, more in the spiritual realms rather than grounding down. But for you and me, you know, we're so disconnected from the earth. If you want to go meditate in the park and sit on the grass, I do that all the time. It's not a big deal. I mean, I'm not trying to blast off all the time. I mean, you know, I'm just trying to be calm, feel peaceful, feel good. The last point I have down here is be careful. So I've done some dumb things in the past, a lot of dumb things, as we probably have, but maybe I did a bit more than the average person. But in college, when I used to live in Austin, Texas, for whatever reason, I thought it was a good idea to walk around barefoot. And, you know, walking on the sidewalk in Austin, Texas barefoot is not a great idea because there's a lot of broken glass beer bottles. And yes, I've had glass in the bottom of my feet many times and had to get the tweezers and pull that glass out. Sometimes it's really hard to get that glass out. So that's the first point. Please be careful. There's no benefit to walking on the sidewalk barefoot, walking in the street barefoot. Wear sandals, wear shoes. It's not worth it. Plus your feet get super dirty and gross and you get labeled a dirty hippie. So the next thing as well is that when you're say you do a hike barefoot, if your feet start to get sore, like noticeably sore, put your shoes back on. And I equated it similar to weightlifting, where, you know, you get the calluses. Can you see those calluses on my hand? When you first start lifting weights, the hands are tender. I mean, the skin's tender. It's not used to picking up iron and squeezing it. And, you know, you get blisters and the skin falls off and then calluses form over it. It's similar with walking barefoot, is that the bottom of our feet are tender. We've been wearing shoes and sandals our whole life, and now we go outside and walk barefoot, it's going to be tender, just like with weightlifting. And so it takes time to toughen up the skin. And I mean, sometimes you'll get blisters and then they callus up, and I've been doing it for so many years that my feet are a lot tougher than when I first started. And so that's why I'm saying be careful. It's like, hey, don't jump right in and do a 1 hour hike because you might get really sore, and, you know, just ease into it. So yeah, y'all, learn from my mistakes on this. So hopefully you found this video inspirational. I know it's a bit different than the videos I've been doing, but God sort of put on my mind, my heart, to make a video about this, and maybe someone needed to hear this. Maybe someone needed to reconnect back to earth. I mean, if I'm in the city and I'm struggling to find some nature, like, I'll just go to the park. I'll find a park and I will put my bare feet on the grass. Or it could be as simple as, say you don't have the time to do that. Well, you can grab a tree, hold on to a tree branch on one of those city sidewalks, because the tree is connected to the earth. The tree is grounded, and you can just hold on to the branch. Because when you hold on with your hand, you're connecting to the tree, and the tree's already grounded. So you can get grounding through your hands as well. As simple as that. I mean, sometimes, like, if I shake someone's hand and I just feel like, oh, I think that person had bad vibes, and I pass a tree, I'll just put my hand on the tree and just sort of release that back into the earth. And I know it sounds crazy, y'all, but I feel it works, man. I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm more of a yogi, and it's more subtle with this energetic stuff. But I mean, you know, you got to use your imagination too and all that. But I mean, I know the tree is grounded, and I know that when I put my hand on the tree, I'm connecting to that groundedness, and I can just visualize just releasing any, like, that negative energy. I can just visualize it releasing and going back into the earth and just sort of recycling. And that's just something I do. Or if say it's a similar situation, I shake someone's hand, I feel like there's bad vibes, I'll go wash my hands. I'll let the water energetically cleanse that off, wash that off. And I know that sounds hippy dippy, all that, but, you know, I'm gonna do me. It's what works for me. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but, you know, I'm learning. it's a work in progress, and I'm learning how to function in this artificial matrix, this unnatural world that to us is like all normal now, but it's very abnormal. And yeah. So, anyways, y'all, thank you for watching this video. May God bless all y'all. Namaste.